Hey guys, it's Kevin again. This is going to be our review for The Flash, Season 1, Episode 21, Grodd Lives. And I was definitely looking forward to this episode. I mean, last week's episode was epic. Honestly, it was an epic episode. And this episode was just as good. I didn't think it was, as good as last week's episode, but I still thought this was an amazing episode. And I loved pretty much everything that happened in this episode, and I really loved this episode. Was more of, now that now that they know who Wells is going to now try to distract him, and I thought that was really well done in this episode. We finally get to see Gorilla Grodd confront Senna. We find out more about his character, and I loved it. But let's get in this episode because it was amazing. So, we start off right where we left off last week with Iris watching the Flash speed across the city and contemplate the fact that he's Barry. And I have to say, this was Iris's best episode yet because she wasn't an idiot in this episode. This is how Iris should be written every episode. The way she was written in this episode, write her like that every episode, I'll be fine with that because I think she was written perfectly in this episode. I think what you need her to do in this episode, she did fine, and I thought she did a great job. So next day at the station, Barry and Joe tell Singe, who at this point is the only person that doesn't know that Barry is the Flash. I just find that kind of interesting. Basically, they tell him that Eddie is taking some personal time, and of course, they don't know where Eddie is. We know where Eddie is, but they don't, and he tells them to contact the Flash about a new case involving gold thefts and leaves, and Barry tells Joe that he hasn't been able to find Eddie, and Barry goes up to his lab, and Iris comes in. And I like what Iris asked him, because she tells him that she reverse Flash took Eddie and momentarily draws back when Barry reaches to comfort her. Now, I thought she was going to tell him straight out that she knew he was the Flash, but she doesn't tell him in this scene, which I kind of like the way she handled this. She didn't tell him straight out. And, she says that the police should be involved, and she's just trying to get him to reveal his secret, but, he's not really getting the signals, and Barry disagrees, saying that they can't cope with the speedster, and Iris asks if he thinks that the Flash is out there, and admits it's hard to trust the hero right now, and, of course, she's alluding to him, because he completely lied to her, and she's, of course, upset about it, and Barry says to trust her and promises that everything will be okay, and I thought that was a really good scene, because, of course, Barry doesn't realize that Iris knows that he is the Flash. It's a really good example of dramatic irony, and definitely something I really loved seeing in this episode was just seeing Iris written this well. I was like, wow, this is how you need to write Iris, not this idiot that, doesn't have a brain. Like, most times in the show, they treat her like she doesn't have a brain, and this episode, we saw that she's actually very smart, and I love that. So, at the Central City Gold Reserve, a man in a golden suit walks up and opens fire on a transport truck with a bazooka. It's actually like an ice cream truck. It's a pretty crazy scene. And basically, at Star Labs, Barry comes in and discovers that Cisco is adapting Wells' computers. And the computer registers the alarms. Sorry, there's a bug on my computer. Basically, the computer registers the alarm at the Gold Reserve, and the Flash races there, and as he advances on him, he suddenly, and one of the things about this episode is that even though Barry knows all this stuff about Wells, he still has to be the Flash. He still has to be this hero to Central City, even though it's very hard for him to be, and this episode really examines that very well, and I really love that. So, basically, he's advancing on him, and he suddenly has mental visions of doctors operating on someone. Now, who it is, we don't know, but he sees these visions, and the thief is stunned as well, but recovers first and runs off. Now, this, of course, is something that Barry's never experienced, and I thought that was really interesting that we saw that Barry can do that now. He can see these visions of things that haven't even happened, and it wasn't even someone he knew. We don't even know who, was being examined on. We don't even know who that was, and I thought that was really interesting overall. So, back at Star Labs, Caitlin examines Barry and confirms that he's okay, and Barry says that this time he felt overwhelming fear, which is probably why he had those visions that he did. And Cisco confirms that by reviewing the footage that the thief was hit as well, and Iris comes in, and I thought that was just a really good scene, definitely something I really enjoyed. I mean, I was definitely interested in seeing how Barry can suddenly get these visions, because we've never seen that before, and I kind of like that the show explored with that. That's something I love that Flash always does. They try to bring in new stuff always. They never try to make it like, oh, same old thing all the time, but no, they always try to make it fresh and new, and that's something I always love about the Flash, something I always love about the Flash. So, Iris comes in and greets Barry as the Flash, and when she did that, I was like, oh shit, because I thought that was awesome, and I'm happy that she said to him that she knew, because obviously he wasn't going to tell her. He wasn't going to tell her, and they go off to talk privately, And I understand what Iris is trying to do. You know, she thought that Barry would have the decency to tell her because, you know, she thought that they were best friends and that he really cared about her and everything. But he's lied to her this whole time, and she just wanted him to tell the truth. She thought she could trust him. She really was not sure if she could. Now, knowing all this stuff, she doesn't know if she can trust him now, and I like that Iris... the way Iris dealt with that, I thought was really mature, honestly, the way she dealt with that. You know, she's not like, oh my god, I know your secret, da-da-da. Like, she wasn't annoying when she did it, and I like that. I mean, a lot of people don't like Iris's character, I know, but how can you not love her character of these 2 episodes? Honestly, after these 2 episodes, I love Iris's character in these 2 episodes. I think they've written her perfectly, and I hope they continue to write her as well as they are in this episode, because this was awesome. So, basically... Cisco and Caitlin agree not to listen in and then just listen in, which I thought was really funny. So Iris explains the jolt of electricity that she felt when she touched the Flash, just like she felt when she touched Barry. This is how she knew that it was Barry. And that's why that scene was so important last week, because she knows that's what Barry had when he was in the coma, and she says that she's disappointed, not angry, and asks if Eddie knows. And I like that she said she's disappointed, because I can understand, you know, I think she is angry, but for right now, she's not going to be angry because she just wants to have a conversation about it. She doesn't want to yell at him about it. She wants to have a conversation about it. And basically, Barry tells her that he does and explains that Wells killed Nora and is Reverse Flash. And I like that he told her that, because I was thinking Barry's going to be like, oh, you have no idea what you're talking about, you know, but I like that Barry, at this point, feels comfortable with telling her pretty much everything. I mean, everybody else knows, so you basically had to tell her, especially because now she knows you're the Flash. Someone would have told her. I mean, if someone would have told her all the details, and you had to tell her. So... he insists that he will get Eddie back and says that Joe told him not to tell Iris to protect his daughter. And Iris tells them that it's time for them to stop protecting her and walks out. And I like that Iris said that, because it's true. Iris is an independent woman. She doesn't need these guys to protect her. Even though they want to protect her, they don't need to protect her because she can get by on her own. I like that Iris said that, because honestly, it's true. You know, Barry and Joe, they don't believe it, but honestly, she can get by on her own, and they need to respect that. So, in Harrison's, in Wells' underground lair, Eddie is tied to a chair, and Wells comes back, and Eddie demands proof that they're related, and of course, I was confused by this revelation last week. I didn't really understand it, and, you know, basically, the scientist says that he doesn't have to prove anything. When he persists, Wells speeds over and tells him to shut up. Now, I really don't know where this is going. I still don't really know where this is going. I think at this point that he's going to be, you know, with Eddie for the rest of the season. I just don't really know where exactly this is going. I'm not sure, and I guess we'll just have to see, because I honestly have no idea where this is going. I guess we'll have to see what happens there. So... basically, that night at the newspaper, Iris is going over the information on Nora's death. When Joe comes in, she ignores him, and Joe admits that he was wrong, and Iris is tired of her father protecting her. And basically, Joe says that Reverse Flash killed cops and killed Mason, and I like that he told her this, and he's trying to keep Barry safe as well, but Iris says that she's just as angry that Joe didn't tell her. And honestly, I can see why she's upset about Joe, but she can't blame all this on Joe, because Barry agreed to it. Barry wasn't like, I want to tell her, and Joe was like, you can't tell her. He agreed to not telling her, so she has to be equally upset at both of them. I understand why she's upset at, you know, Joe and not Barry, but she has a right to be upset at both of them, and she should be upset with both of them. So, I get that she doesn't want to be mad at Barry, but she has just as much of a right as to be mad, you know, to be mad at Barry as she does with Joe. I mean, she has a right to be mad at both of them. So, basically, I thought that was definitely, I thought that was really well done. So, basically, I definitely enjoyed that scene, and I have to say, definitely the acting in that scene, Jesse L. Martin. I know a lot of people don't like the actress who plays Iris, but I think she honestly gave a really good performance this episode. I don't know her name, but she did a really good job in this episode, and I think it's honestly, as I said, Iris' best episode. So, I think she definitely was probably the real star of this episode. Even though we had some big scenes from, like, Barry, I think she really was the big star here. So she suggests that Eddie might be safe because she wouldn't have gotten involved with him. And that's true. If you know, Joe would have told her what's going on with Barry, she would have never dated Eddie. None of that would have happened, and Eddie would be fine right now. And basically tells Joe that what happened to Eddie is his fault. And It kind of is true. I do understand that. I mean, that I can see why she blames Joe for, because Barry was in a coma. There was no way he could have told her what was going on. If Joe just would have told her what was going on, then she wouldn't have gotten together with Eddie. They wouldn't have started a relationship. She wouldn't have moved on from Barry, because I think she loved Barry all along. I honestly feel like Eddie is just someone she uses Barry to replace, him with, because she can't be with him. So Joe gets a call from Singe and says that he has to take it, and Iris turns away. She's obviously really pissed at him. So Joe calls Barry and tells him that the gold reserve is going to transport $300 million to their Coast City vault, and he's ready to head out, and Cisco asks how they're transporting the gold. And the next day, a teacher brings her students over for ice cream. Now, the ice cream truck, the song for the ice cream truck is still going on, but yet they're out of ice cream, so I thought that was really weird. I mean, like, when do you see a truck play the ice cream song, but they don't have any ice cream? That never happens. I mean, that's like the worst thing ever, honestly. So, Joe and an assault squad are waiting in full gear along with the gold, and as they continue along, the thief triggers a mine that sends the ice cream truck skidding, and the thief walks forward, firing, and Joe prepares to shoot him. The Flash arrives, knocks the thief out, and unmasks him to reveal that he's Eiling, and I'm like, Eiling? I thought Eiling was killed by Grodd. But that's not what happened. What they actually did with Eiling, I think, is a lot more clever, because I thought they were just going to have Grodd kill Eiling, but what they actually do with him, I think, was a lot more interesting than what actually ended up happening. So after locking Eiling up in the pipeline, the group stares at the prisoner because he's not talking, he's not making any movement whatsoever. He just stands there mindless, and Caitlin says that physically he's perfectly healthy and there's nothing wrong with him. So Cisco checks with Lila and confirms, and I like that he asked her this, because she basically confirms that Eiling has been missing for the last 3 months and Argus is covering up for it. So Joe addresses Eiling, but he doesn't respond. When Barry asks if he remembers him, Eiling finally addresses him as Flash, but of course this is not Eiling, and says that Eiling isn't there. He addresses Caitlin, calls her good, and the individual speaking through Eiling says that her Eiling and that it's Grodd, and I thought that was awesome because we've never actually heard Grodd speak. I didn't know Grodd had the ability to speak, but apparently he does, and I thought that was really cool. So basically, recognize the name. Cisco and Caitlin bring a footage of the gorilla that Wells and Eiling experimented on 5 years ago, because of course they would know about this because think of how long they've been there. So they were attempting to expand the cognitive abilities of soldiers, but it was a cover for Eiling to develop super soldiers with psycho abilities, and Wells found out about them and shut down the project, and Grodd disappeared after the explosion. So Cisco suggests that all the drugs they injected Grodd with activated due to the explosion. So Caitlin compares the brain scans she did on Grodd and discovers that Eiling's patterns now match Grodd's from before the explosion. So she figures that Grodd is now controlling Eiling, and Joe figures that Wells is using Grodd to basically distract them, which honestly is really cool that he's just trying to distract them at this point, because the thing about Wells is how good he is with plotting and how good he is with planning things. I mean, they have no idea what's going on. They have no idea that, Eddie is related to Wells and that he's going to try to get Wells, Eddie on his side. They know nothing about that. So Iris comes in overhearing them. She says that she's going to help them find Grodd and Eddie, and they're not going to say anything about it, and she's going to help them, which I think is good, because honestly, she knows she should become a member of, the team. Definitely. I think that she definitely should join the team because she's just as smart here. And we really see that Iris is very smart in this episode, which I love seeing. So she reveals that there's been reports of wild animals in the sewers. And I know that people are like, Iris states the obvious, da-da-da. But honestly, what she did here was really impressive because basically there have been reports of wild animals in the sewers, and shoe workers disappear in an address, and Cisco finds an access point nearby, and Barry prepares to go, and Joe insists on going and bringing Cisco with them. So in the sewers, the three men set out flares and move on. It's such an intense scene. I did not know what was going to happen in this scene. I mean, this is such a crazy scene. Really, I didn't know what was going to happen here. So at Star Labs, Iris thanks Caitlin for sticking up to her and points out that Caitlin lied to her about Ronnie, which of course she did, and I like that she brought that up because that's something else that Iris can be mad at. Caitlin, she can be mad at Caitlin as well, and Cisco. Everyone's lied to her, and Caitlin says, and of course, Iris thought something about that. She didn't think that Caitlin was really related to Ronnie. She knew there was something else going on there. So Caitlin says that Ronnie's fine. They watch the helmet cams of Cisco and the others. Cisco finds Grodd's name written on the walls repeatedly and realizes that the gorilla is getting smarter, and they hear Grodd growling in the darkness. Barry's overwhelmed with more telepathic visions. Grodd knocks him out, grabs Joe, yanks him up into a nearby shaft, and when Joe wakes up, he finds himself in another section of the sewers, and this has to be the creepiest scene of The Flash ever. Seriously, this was so creepy. Because Grodd mentally forces him to turn on himself, emerges from the shadows, and addresses Joe telepathically, and then makes him throw the gun away. Grodd says that Father hates guns. Of course, Father, he realizes that he's talking about Wells. And he says that Wells isn't there, and Joe offers him the banana, because of course, you know, it's not really Wells, it's Eobard Thawne. And Joe offers him the banana that Cisco insisted on bringing along. Grodd snarls that he hates bananas and walks off, and it's kind of funny, but at the same time, it's really creepy, so I thought that was really awesome. So at Star Labs, Caitlin examines Barry's brain and says that Grodd physically attacked him, and Barry is ready to search the sewers. But Caitlin warns that Grodd could take over his mind, and Cisco admits that they can't build a shielding device without Wells' help, and by the way, I love Cisco's reference to The Exorcist. I thought that was hilarious, and when Joe's like, you and your movies, I thought that was great, because yeah, we don't get through one episode without Cisco talking about some sort of movie, which I thought was hilarious. So Iris complains that they can't save Eddie and Joe after everything they've done, and I like that Iris said that, because it's true. They're focusing so much on, you know, getting Wells, but they can't focus on saving Eddie and Joe. I understand what she's saying there, and Barry goes after Iris, who complains about how Joe went into danger with Barry and Cisco. She says that Joe isn't a metahuman like Barry, and Barry insists that it isn't Joe's fault that he kept his secret from her, which it's not, and I like what he says here. He says that Iris should be mad at him, because not Joe. She demands to know why he's keeping, because she deliberately lied to her. I mean, Joe just never told her something. He lied to her face. Like, he told her straight out, I'm not the Flash. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm not the Flash. You guys can look at the scene from episode 2. There's a scene where she thinks he's the Flash, and he tells her straight out, I'm not the Flash, which, of course, is a lie. So I like that Barry brought this up, because, yes, she does have a right to be upset with him, and that's something that she can be upset with him about and hold him accountable for. So I like that he said that. And, this scene, I have to say, was amazing, because she demands to know why he's been keeping secrets from him, and basically, Barry insists that he's her best friend, but Iris points out that he's lied to her so much that she really doesn't trust him, and he says that she lied to him as well about how she feels about him. Iris has nothing to say about it. She doesn't want to say anything, and I like that Barry did point that out, but here's the thing. He seems to think that Iris has deeper feelings for him, which I think she does, but that's not in her mind right now. Like, that was the worst time to bring that up. Like, what are you doing, Barry? That was the worst time to bring up the fact that Iris is in love with you because she's pissed at you. Why would you bring that up to her right now? That's, like, the worst time to bring that up. I mean, just any other time would have been fine, not then. So Eddie warns Wells that they will find him eventually, and Wells assures him that the Thawne bloodline is filled with politicians and scientists, and he says that Eddie is the exception as a failure, and points out that his career as a police officer is uneventful, and he doesn't get the girl. As we know, Barry becomes, you know, the head leader of the police and everything, commander, and, we kind of see that Eddie, you know, hasn't really gotten as successful, and I like seeing that, honestly. I like finding out more about 2024. I heard some people say that maybe we might see 2024. I honestly would like to see that. I mean, I thought we were going to see that last week. I thought when we saw that flashback, there was actually a flash forward. I think it'd honestly be cool to see 2024. Maybe for, like, an episode. Just do, like, an episode where we see 2024, like, they go into 2024. I mean, he has the ability to time travel, so he could easily go into 2024. So I'm very interested in seeing if that actually ends up happening. Because we also know that back then, he was also the Flash at a later time. So I'm interested in seeing, you know, how maybe he alters that. I mean, there are a lot of possibilities of what could happen there. So Eddie asks what he's talking about. He has no idea that, you know, what Wells is saying. And Wells brings up the newspaper with Iris's byline, identifying her as Barry's wife. So basically, he's doing whatever he can. I think what he's doing here is getting Eddie on his side. I said it before. I think he's trying to get Eddie on his side. I think that he's going to get Eddie to go against Barry. It's never going to happen. There's no way it's going to work. I can already tell that Eddie wants something to do with him. And I like seeing that. Because I like seeing that, you know, Eddie doesn't really trust him right now. I do think Eddie's going to die. I don't think Eddie's going to make it out of this season. I think that Eddie's probably going to be the one to die. But I guess we'll have to see. Definitely, I think they're killing off someone this season. I mean, it's the CW. They usually kill off someone. I think they're going to pull a Tommy. I really do. I think it's going to happen, but I guess we'll have to see. So, Cisco builds an anti-telepathy strip as Iris returns. The tracker that Barry shot into Grodd comes online, and Barry dons his costume. And before he goes, I like what he says to Iris. He tells Iris that he never imagined her being there the way she is now, and Iris tells him to get Joe back. That's her main concern right now. She doesn't care what he has to say to her. She wants him to get Joe back, and then she will talk to him. So the Flash goes to the spot where the GPS indicator is showing Grodd, and Cisco opens up the steam pipes to force Grodd out into the open, and Caitlin tells Iris that they're maneuvering Grodd into a tunnel 3.5 miles away from the Flash, and the Flash then speeds in a straight line. Grodd grabs his fist, throws him aside. The headset works, protecting the Flash, and he launches a series of super speed punches, and Grodd grabs him by the throat, smashes him through a wall into a subway tunnel. Probably one of the most badass action scenes we've had. Honestly, this was so badass. And the headset falls off. Grodd hits the Flash with a telepathic blast of the doctors who operate on him. And the thing here is that this is not some silly metahuman. No, this is a serious villain who could really, do some very serious damage to Barry. And I love seeing that. It really put the show at a whole new level, I have to say. So Cisco picks up a service training approaching, and Caitlin tells the Flash to get out of there. With time running out, Iris tells the Flash to concentrate on her voice and fight the psychic assault, and we see, Barry thinking of things with him and Iris, him and her kissing in the alternate timeline, and when, they first met and things like that, and him at the hospital, and how she's always sort of motivated him, which she always pretty much has been the thing that's motivated him. If you think about it, think of everything that he's ever done. It's been because of Iris that it's happened. I mean, why did he go back in time? For Iris. Why did he become the Flash? For Iris. Why did he kiss, why did he tell Iris? He did all this stuff for Iris. Why did he keep the secret from her? For Iris. And I love seeing that. So she begs Barry to stand up to Grodd for her, and the Flash remembers his times with her, and focusing the Flash speeds out of the way of the train just in time, and once it passes, Grodd leaps forward, the Flash speeds out of the way just as another train goes by, slamming into the gorilla, and the Flash then finds Joe and tells Iris that he's bringing her father home, and I thought that was awesome that we saw that. I was very happy that Barry did that, and I was happy that Joe was okay. So, Barry checks on Eiling, confirms he's free of Grodd's telepathic influence, and Eiling wonders how long he plans to hold him, and Barry releases him and says that his brain pattern proves clear. He tells Eiling that he'll get what's coming to him eventually, and Eiling says that Barry has seen that metahumans are dangerous, and of course, he wants to kill metahumans, and Barry figures that Eiling hasn't revealed his secret because he figures that he'll need him, but Eiling says that he knows that Barry is the Flash. He already knows that, and I think that's really interesting. So Eiling must have a common enemy in Wells, and that he doesn't really trust Wells either. So honestly, if Barry wants a good ally, Eiling's right there. Like, get Eiling as your ally. He's strong, he's good with words, he has legitimate reasons to go against Wells, like, use Eiling, honestly. I know Barry's going to create an army, and I know next week we're going to get Arrow and Captain Cold, which is going to be awesome, but get Eiling. Eiling is someone you could use as well. I mean, I know Eiling isn't a metahuman, and he doesn't really have any powers, but neither does Arrow minus a bow and arrow, so I definitely feel like he's going to come into play. I feel like Adam's going to come into this. I mean, there are a lot of possibilities if he would come in, but we'll have to see. So Caitlin puts Joe to bed after binding his broken ribs. She and Cisco leave Joe alone with Iris, and I thought this was a great scene, especially after all the tense scenes they had in this episode. I was happy that they did have this one moment here. Joe says that he thought he was going to die, and all he could think of was losing Iris, and admits that his love for her made him blind to how she's grown, and Iris tells him to love her enough to trust him, and they hug, and I thought that was a really sweet scene. So Barry and the scientists discuss the situation, and Joe figures that Wells sent Grodd as a distraction, and Cisco worries that they failed to stop Grodd, but Barry points out that the three of them, I love what he says here, because it's true. This was the first time the three of them were able to rescue Joe without Wells' help, and it shows that they can do this, and Caitlin says it was the four of them, because really it was. I mean, Iris is now part of the team, and Barry meets Iris on the rooftop where she met the Flash. He says that he wasn't afraid because he knew Iris was there, and knowing that was how he stood up to Grodd. Barry says that the thought of Iris is what's keeping him going, and I love that he said that to her, because it's true, that it really is what's keeping him going, and he assures her that she was still a part of his life even if she didn't know his secret, and he tells Iris that without her, there wouldn't be a Flash, and Iris admits that she hasn't been thinking about the two of them. However, she's with Eddie, and he's the man that she loves, and I like that she said that because it's true. She wants to stay faithful to Eddie. She wants to be with Eddie, and Barry promises to bring him back. He asks what happens after that, and Iris admits that she really doesn't know what's going to happen. I mean, we know what the future holds. We know that these two are getting together. We know that she becomes Iris West Allen. However, that is an alternate future. So, are they going to alter that somehow? I mean, there are a lot of possibilities of what could happen there. But then we see Grodd climbs up a clock tower, then leaps off. Grodd is still alive, which is awesome because I love Grodd's character. I think he is a great threat to the Flash, and honestly, he's really intimidating and really frightening, which is awesome. So at Wells' lair, Wells finishes building a blue tube filled with circuitry. He tells A that he has the key and then climbs up into a building. He plugs the cylinder, and the power comes up, and Wells says that it's time to go home, and that's how the episode ends. So he is definitely taking Eddie into the future with him, and Eddie is going to see what happened to him, because I definitely feel like Wells is going to try to convince Eddie to ally with him and turn against Barry. The question is, will Eddie actually do this? But overall, guys, what an amazing episode. So much to talk about. Barry and Iris. Iris, I think, is going to eventually admit her feelings for Barry. I think it's going to be the season finale. I think that's when that's going to happen. We'll have to see. I don't think it's going to be a repeat of Out of Time or anything, but I definitely feel like that's coming. Definitely, I feel like that's coming. We'll have to see, though. I love that Iris knows that Barry's the Flash now. It's made the show so much more interesting. It's made her character more interesting. And it's made her less annoying as well. I mean, she was getting annoying, I do have to say. The way, it wasn't so much her as a character. It was more the way they were writing Iris. That's what made her annoying. She's not annoying now. She was just getting annoying as a character. You know what I mean? She's not so much annoying now. She was just getting annoying. I love that Grodd is still out there. I think it's awesome that he's still out there. What's going to happen with Eiling? Do you think Barry's going to try to convince Eiling to work with him? I mean, now that Eiling knows that he's the Flash, I think pretty much he can work with him, and that would be great if he can work with him. So I'm interested in seeing what's going to happen there. I kind of feel like Barry's going to be forced to alter the timeline in order to stop Wells, because Wells just seems like the only way that he can get Eddie on his side is to show him the future. And if Eddie sees that, I feel like Eddie's going to go dark and turn against Barry. The only way that Barry can do that is to mess that up and change it. And I'm interested in seeing if... I definitely feel like the finale we're dealing with time travel, which is going to be awesome. I know next week we have Arrow and Captain Cold joining us, which I know is going to be so awesome. I can't wait for it to see what happens there. Do you think that Iris, do you think that she fully trusts Barry? I don't think she still fully trusts Barry. I think she understands what he did, but I think it's just going to take a while to fully trust him. We'll have to see if he can get her to fully trust him. I don't think she ever... I think it's going to take her a while, definitely. I think it's going to take her a while, but we'll see what happens. Ronnie, I think, is coming... Ronnie, I know, is coming in as well, which is going to be awesome. I mean, how's Caitlin going to react to that? Definitely am interested in seeing... Iris's reaction to seeing Ronnie back, because obviously she thought Ronnie was Caitlin's cousin, and when Ronnie sees that Caitlin, that's Iris is now part of the team, he's definitely going to want to tell her things, which I definitely see a lot of things happening for Iris. I think this is only the beginning of many big reveals, and I definitely see a lot more coming. So we'll have to see what happens there. I have to say, I think Iris and Eddie are breaking up. I don't think they're staying together. I think definitely in a few episodes they're going to be done. I don't know when they're going to get Eddie, back. I don't know if they'll ever get Eddie back. I think maybe Eddie will just go dark and they'll have to kill him. I definitely feel like Eddie's going to die. I don't think Eddie's going to be the one to live. That's the way they're portraying him and the way that they're showing this. I feel like Eddie's going to be the one to die. I mean, think about it. He's working with Wells. There's no way that Wells is going to die. There's no way that Barry's going to die. Eddie's probably going to die. Iris I see living. Caitlin I see living. Cisco I see living. Joe I see living. I see Eddie dying. I really do. It's not that Eddie feels out of place. It's just that the way that Eddie, the way his storyline is going, I don't see him living through this. I see him dying. And it's sad, but I definitely see it happening. But that's basically my review. Hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know what you guys saw this episode. Overall, guys, thought this was another amazing episode. Absolutely love this episode. I love the way Iris was written this episode. I thought it was awesome the way they wrote her. And I really hope they continue to write her. The writing is as strong as it was in this episode. This is how you make a quality episode of The Flash. And I absolutely am loving the show. I can't wait for the final 2 episodes, and I still can't believe there's 2 episodes left. Like, all these other shows, it's like season finale next week. But we still have 2 episodes left of The Flash, which is awesome, and that's great, and that's my review. Hope you guys enjoyed. I'll see you guys in my next video, which will be my review for tonight's episode of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., so we'll see you guys for that. Okay, bye.